and they stretched him out, and they held him down. And they pounded nails into his body. They took the cross that he was nailed to, and they hoisted it up, and they dropped it into a hole that they had dug. And I watched my Jesus hang upon that tree until he died. When life had left his body, a darkness covered the land. And I ran from that place. Oh, how I ran. But I wasn't afraid of darkness. I wanted darkness. I didn't want to see anymore. I didn't want to see any more hurt, any more pain, any more brutal humanity. Why? Why had you given me my sight? Why? You give me Jesus and yet you take him from me. Why have you done this? I have been nothing but a beggar my entire life. I own no land. I have no trade. Now you rip my Redeemer from me. I wandered around the city for several days. And then I had to leave. I had to leave the city. I hated Jerusalem. I hated it. I hated the city. I hated the people. All my life I had wanted to go to the holy city of David. Now I just want to run from it. Barbarians. And so I made my way out of Jerusalem. And I walked down the road, and I don't know how far I had gone. I had not gone far. When I saw a man approaching me, running, shouting, saying something, and I could not understand what he was saying, but I knew him. I knew this man. This man was in the multitude with Lucia and I when we followed Jesus into Bethany, when we went with him into Jerusalem. This man was in the crowd. And as he got closer, I could see that it was Cleopas. It was Cleopas. And as he approached me, he was out of breath, and he said, Bartimaeus, Jesus is risen, Bartimaeus. I was on my way to Emmaus. He's risen. I saw him. Peter has seen him. The women have seen him. Jesus has risen, Bartimaeus. And with that, he ran on to the city shouting as he went. And I stood there, and I thought to myself, could this be true? Could this be true? I saw him die. There's no way he could have lived through that. I saw him die. How could he be alive? This could not be true. Jesus always said, have faith. Jesus always said, all things are impossible with God. And I remember, I was not there, but I remember hearing a story that this man, Jesus, raised a man from the dead. If he could raise another, surely he could raise himself. And so I began to cry out in hope and in desperation, Jesus, if this is true, show yourself to me. Show yourself to me, God. But I waited, I saw nothing. As days passed, I heard rumors all over town that other people had seen Jesus. Everywhere I went, they had seen him. I went over here, and they said, you should have been here this morning. Jesus appeared. I went over here, and they said, you should have been here last night. Jesus appeared. Everywhere I went, people had seen Jesus, but I did not see him. I wanted to see him. I wanted to see Jesus. I was the one that was blind. I want to see you. Show yourself to me. Show yourself to me. I sat on a rock overlooking the hillside, not very far from where I had met Cleopas. And a man sat next to me, and I recognized him. It was one of the 12. It was Didymus, the twin. You know him better as Thomas. And he sat next to me, and he says, Bartimaeus, Jesus is risen. I said, yes, I've heard it all before. Everybody tells me he's risen. I want to see him. Why can't I see him? And Thomas said, Bartimaeus, I felt the very same way. Jesus appeared to the other disciples, and I was not there. And I told Peter, I said to him, I will not believe that Jesus is risen until I see him with my own eyes, until I see the nail marks in his hands, until I put my finger in those nail marks, until I place my hand in his wounded side. I will not believe. He said, and then a most remarkable thing happened. We were all gathered in a room, and the doors were locked. And Jesus appeared. And he stood right before me. And he said to me, because you have seen me, you believe. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. And with that, I looked at Thomas, and he began to cry. And then he stood up. And he got a very angry look on his face. His tears were coming down his face. And he grabbed me by the shoulders, and he stood me up, and he shook me. And he said to me, Bartimaeus, Jesus has given you your sight so that you may enjoy the wonders of this world. But better you be blind and see with your heart than have two good eyes and see nothing. Open your eyes of spiritual faith. Let the risen Christ come in. Believe whether you see Jesus or not, and be blessed, Bartimaeus. And with that, Thomas left. Once again, I found myself alone, standing there. My mind was confused and racing. My heart was pounding. My spirit was shaking inside. And I began to think, what has happened to me? What has happened to me? When I was blind and I lived outside of the gates of Jericho, I lived by faith. Every day I believed that God would provide for me. And every day he did. Every day I believed that God would protect me from harm. And every day he did. Every day I believed that God would allow another day of sunlight to grace my face. And another day was granted. But now that Jesus has given me my sight, have I lost my faith? Oh, no. No, I live by faith, not by sight. I don't have to see it to believe it. I believe it because it's true. Jesus is risen. Jesus is alive. Jesus is the Son of God. I believe it. It's true. And I am blessed of God because I believe. Jesus said, blessed are those who do not see and yet believe. I do not see, but I believe. I believe Jesus. And all of a sudden, as I was talking to myself, as I was making the decision of faith, I began to feel good inside. I began to feel light and free. I had to get home. I had to go tell Lucia. I had to tell her that Jesus was risen. We didn't have to see him. It was true. It was real. And I was walking down the road, going back to Jerusalem, walking as quickly as I could. And I felt a song working in my spirit. And I am not a singer, but I could not help myself. I was singing, and I didn't even care who heard me. I was just so happy, I began to think, I am blessed, and to you I do confess, Jesus lived and died and rose again for me. He's alive, he's alive. And to me, that's no surprise. For he touched me, and he healed me, and he filled me, and he sealed me. Yes, it's true, yes, it's true. Jesus is King of the Jews. And he lived and died and rose again for me. It was my life he saved. It was his life he gave. I am blessed, I am blessed, I am blessed.
That day, I saw my husband call out to the Messiah. That day, I saw the Son of God stop whatever he was doing for a human being. That day, I saw Jesus Christ stop amidst the pressing crowd for a raggedy beggar to approach him. Today, that same Christ is here for you. And whatever your affliction or your situation may be, maybe it's anger, frustration, unforgiveness, insecurity. Maybe you need love. Well, Jesus is here for you. His question to you is simply this: my child, what do you want me to do for you? Again, Jesus is just asking you, what do you want me to do for you? Ponder that question in your heart today and reply to him as my husband did. Please bow your head with me and let's reply to Jesus as my husband did and say, Rabbi, I want to see my life restored. Help me to recover once again my health, my finances, my family, my self-esteem, all the things the enemy has stolen away from me, all the things I may have given to him unknowingly. Jesus, today I receive you as my Lord and my Savior, and I promise to follow you along the road. Today I toss my cloak of darkness aside. I rise up and I run towards you, my Messiah. Jesus, I accept you as my Lord and my Savior. Jesus, today I promise to follow you along the road and to serve you for the rest of my life. Because of you, I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. Shalom.